Nattari.
Here.
Councilman Brian Donahue.
Here.
Supervisor Teresa Kenny.
Here. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a couple of announcements. We have a public hearing scheduled for July 11th. One is a proposed amendment to Chapter 39-8, which is a stop intersection at Dederer Street and Washington Street. That's a recommendation from the Traffic Advisory Board. And then we have a proposed amendment to the town code regarding another parking on the south side of Crooked Hill Road from North Middletown Road to the Meadows at Pearl River. Again, Traffic Advisory Board, so 2 public hearings. We're going to start with some discussion items. I guess we'll start with the first one. We have, and I know our town attorney's running late. He's kind of hoping to be here, but we'll start, I guess, in the meantime. A discussion on the proposed local law for farm cidery Van Houten petition. So do we have anyone here to speak on it?
Their attorneys in here?
I don't, is it the attorney that we hired, the planner here? No? The planner didn't come, we have to wait for Rob.
Let's wait for Rob. Let's get
Okay.
go back to it.
Okay, and then we're going to do the workshop of agenda items. So as it regards to the comp plan, we unfortunately just found out tonight that Councilman Divany is not feeling well and will not be coming tonight. So a lot of the comments that, basically we have a bunch of, which is up on the website, a lot of comments that were made by both Paul Valentine and Councilman Divany. We were going to go through them and vote on them tonight. I don't think without him being here, it's appropriate to do. So we may have to, and our town attorney's coming in, we may have to just open the public hearing and put it over because, you know, I just found out within the last half hour or so that he's not coming, so. Nice of you to show up.
Yeah, I think it would only be right to hold it over because Tom did make 50% of the comments.
Yeah.
And
So we're talking about the comp plan.
He can't
Tom
explain
apparently
it
is
if
not
he's
feeling
not
well, is not coming tonight. So.
Like me, it was just late.
Yeah, like he was just late, correct. So I'm just, before people sit here to wait to talk about it, do we just open the public hearing, let people speak what's on it, and then we'll just,
did we close the public portion last time?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, so we can, I believe this is on the website, so basically the comments that were made was put on the website, you know, the different comments, so if people want to get up and speak upon that, they can. We will ultimately, they'll have to put it over because Mr. Divany's not here, so, anyway, okay. So we're going to, real quick, we can do the workshop of the agenda items. Okay, number 3 is the public hearing for the mixed use on the fast food. We do have somebody here to speak on that. That's for the Chipotle, for lack of a better. And that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so 8, again, is what we're just talking about, the public hearing on the comp plan. 9 is the comp plan. Number 10, this is a petition for zone changes, has to do with the Pearl Plaza property. I think that, he's here, I saw him, he's in the back. Now? Yeah, why don't you come on up, we might as well do that now. He's on number 11, yeah. Just, we passed over on the side of, we didn't know, is there someone here for the planners to talk about it, or is it? No, okay. Okay, so we'll go back at, yeah.
Good evening, Town Board. I represent the owners of Pearl Plaza. This has been a conflict, I guess, for many years. It's a split use. Originally had split use in zoning. It went from CS, CO, back to CS. Right now, half the residents, or half the tenants in there are CS, the other half are CO. There are vacancies there because they really can't rented because of fixed zoning. So primarily, we're asking that the zoning be put back to what it originally was, which was CS.
And just on for setting the public hearing. This is not the public hearing tonight.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
thank you.
yeah.
Number 12 is the agreement with for the concession stand at Veterans Memorial Park.
We only had one bidder, huh?
We actually, yeah, only had one. Really none.
It was posted, though?
It was posted and everything, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. You know, this is the second time we had none, but
Yeah.
she's willing to work with us, so we, anyway, so,
Okay.
number 13, Orange and Rockland approve utility streetlight installation. This is again, at private Del Regno Court in Blueville.
Yeah, down the end.
Sorry. There we go, okay. Number 14, approve the agreement with Walden Environmental Engineering. This is to do the grant, did some grant writing on a particular grant for us. 15 is the certificate of sewer registrations, which is standard stuff. 16 is accept performance bond for the reserve at Pearl River Blue Hill Plaza. 17, we're rescinding a resolution. Unfortunately, the individual we're going to appoint to code enforcement officer has declined the position. 18, approve Cornell University Local Roads Program, the attendance by Chris Coyle. 19, accept with regret the resignation retirement of Carl Bond from the Highway Department after 36 years. We have declare some surplus ammunition. And we have accept with regret the retirement of Sam DeZago from the town clerk's office after 38 years.
Wow.
Yep. And then that's all we got. So we're going to go back to the discussion on the Farm Cidery Van Houten petition. So I don't know, Rob, if you want to start, or you want me to start? Or?
Sure. Well, there was a petition. This is just a discussion item. As you know, there was a petition by the Van Houten Farm Trust, I believe, to permit the cidery to operate. It's been reviewed by a planner. It's been reviewed by my office, by the building department. So a proposal has been submitted to the board. There's many things that are, obviously policy decisions for the board to decide upon. So there it is. I guess the purpose of this was for discussion amongst the board at this point, and where it goes, if the board is interested in moving forward, if it's not interested in moving forward, if it wants to make changes before moving forward. So it's really in your hands.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my comments. So I looked at this very closely, and I have a big problem with the setback requirement being from the adjoining principal building on an adjoining property. That is nowhere in our town code. We do setbacks from the property line. The reason we didn't do the setback from the property line is because if you look, the quote-unquote stage is, I think, less than 30 feet from the adjoining property line. The retail liquor cider sales is less than 30 feet from the adjoining property line. This goes back to a point that I know other board members have made, that it, in this location, is completely inappropriate. Nowhere in our town code do we use from adjoining principal residences or buildings or whatever terminology we use. Clearly, this was adopted to meet this scenario. Looking at our R40 setback requirements, it wouldn't meet our regular R40 setback requirements of 30 and 50 feet. So as written, I'm completely against it. I mean, if there was some discussion about moving it to the other side of the property, which I know was mentioned by the planners, which I think was mentioned by another councilman at one point, is something that could be considered, but you can't be 25 feet, 28 feet from a neighbor's property and think it's okay to have a stage and a retail liquor cider sales. And we have people here from Hobbs tonight that are complaining that their neighbors in a residential neighborhood are selling alcohol and have music and things. And this is the same thing. So that's my comments, for what it's worth. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go. Well, look, this is a really tough situation, and trying to find a happy medium, again, where both parties are not happy is like impossible, because, in my opinion, one party doesn't want to settle for anything. So there is nothing but close and be gone, my way or the highway, and to me, that doesn't work either. So,
But Paul,
I
they have the
understand what
law
you're
on their
saying,
side.
right?
They have the law on their side, so,
I
again,
understand what you're saying, but if they close down, what's in the best interest of the town and the law?
but what's to stop them from moving it to the other side of the property?
There is nothing, but don't they have to go from here to the planning board and then to the zoning board?
Yeah, but
It's-
this-
if
but this
isn't
code-
what this is done, that
This,
doesn't mean it's
as written
finished.
here, this is written here, was written for this plan. When you start talking number of feet to the next principal, like, so what if the neighbors knocked that house down and moved it? We've never, ever, and I'm here 30 years, looked at how close it was to an adjoining building, or residence, or whatever, we use some weird language. It's always the property line. It's the setback is
So,
always
so
at
the
property
answer
line.
is not no, Teresa. The answer is, what do you think it should be?
I.
You think it's 150 feet from the property line? That's ridiculous,
No, no.
because that's not in our
Well-
code anywhere either.
It's not even 30 feet. It's not even 30 feet. It's 28 feet, best I could tell. And that's less than our regular R40 setbacks.
So what is your answer?
I've
The
already
answer's
said
not
it. I've
no.
said, move it to the other side of the property where there's no, you probably would be then 100 and something feet from a property line. But this is, if that was my property, I would,
So in my opinion, this was a well-crafted thing that they worked very hard on. Is it perfect? No. And I think there should be some changes. In, first of all, I don't think we need stuff about food trucks, because we're crafting a food truck law. And they shouldn't be held to a different standard than everybody else in the town, the same way they maybe shouldn't be from the property line held to a different standard. So we have to come up with something that is reasonable to both the applicant and the people opposing it. If it's not 150 feet from the principal building, maybe it's 30 feet from the property line to go in with the zoning. But, it's not just no, it's no,
Yeah,
but
but-
this is my solution. So, this has been going on for a very long time, and I feel like we're a dog chasing our tail. We're getting nowhere.
yeah,
So
but
we have to come up with a
you have to start at the
solution.
premise that no one's entitled to this. This is not a right. They're not entitled to this because they want it. That's not how our zoning
You're
works.
absolutely
I
right.
understand it. There's reasons to think we would rather keep them there than lose them. That's fine. But you can't say, again, they have no right to this. So again, going back to what I think was said some time ago, that if they would consider moving it to another side of the farm, a property, it'd be looked at, but I don't know. Anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah,
Well, this was worked out with a planner, right? I mean, this isn't their plan. This was
Oh,
what the
come on,
planner
Paul.
came back
It's not
with.
their plan. Oh, God.
So
It is-
I disagree with you. I'm going to tell you that, and I
I-
support the
I-
farm, and
I-
I'm going to try to find a compromise.
I don't disagree with the compromise, but from the beginning, I looked for something different further away. I'm not so sure I like the plan complete like this, and it's coming down to the same thing. Am I going to say no to you completely? No, but this is our first discussion on it. If we can come up with some remedies, I'm not opposed, completely opposed, but I agree with the setbacks. I have agreed with the setbacks, not necessarily those setbacks there, but I thought that it would be better if it was moved to the other side of the property. And if that could be done, again, it's.
So instead of us planning
It's
how
not
to-
all or nothing. It's not all or nothing, but it has,
Correct, but shouldn't we just give them the parameters, Jerry, and then let them determine where it's best suited for them to run their business? Like say, I don't care what it is, it's 30 feet from the property line, 50 feet from the property line. But you give them the parameters and then say, you sort it out, it's your property and your business. You don't just say, I don't want it there, I think your stage should go there for your business. That's not how business works.
Well, I mean, again, so how many feet do you think is appropriate to have a stage and a sale of liquor from your property line? What do you tell me? What do you think?
So, if I bought next to a farm, right, or next to, what are they called, the Masonic grounds, right, and they had a stage there, then you have to, it's the same thing, like how close is a railroad to a property line? Look, I wouldn't want it 30 feet from my property, I also wouldn't buy a house there.
Right, but there was no stage or liquor being sold when they bought the house there, so this is new. I mean, again, I from the beginning said I would work with something. This is not workable for me, but I'm one of five, so.
Mike, okay. What do you think, Brian?
I think there's, really needs to be a little more work done, but I do agree with you, Paul. I mean, if we're gonna disagree on something, then let's suggest what it could be, or, just fully disagree with Paul. If you don't think those parameters are correct, what would you suggest the parameters? And again, I understand it's hard living near there. There's no simple solution. This has been going on a long time. There's no simple.
Brian, how many feet do you think? You tell me.
We haven't discussed that yet. I mean, what do you think? What do you think, 50?
I already
30?
said, I said I think you should move to the other side of the property. I don't know how many feet it is, I'm not, you know.
Then that's something we can discuss and let the Van Houten decide.
See, here's the map, so maybe if you.
So
look,
is
you'll see how
that the
close it is.
biggest-
Maybe you'll see how close it is.
Is that the biggest problem you have with this? Is not the
That is
hours,
definitely-
not
that
the
is
foot-
the biggest,
It's
yes.
the,
That's definitely
where
the
it can
biggest.
end up on the property.
And, yeah, that's the biggest, 100%.
Okay. To start.
No, at least we have a target that we can try to work with the neighbors and the Van Houtens and come up with a solution. The solution for me is not no. The solution for me is, let's figure something that works, that's reasonable for a few hours a day, you know, on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's not gonna ruin the neighborhood or the living conditions of the neighbors, but also keep Van Houten's in business. So, I'm willing to look at the setbacks and see if I can, I didn't know that was, you know, I thought that was what the planner's job was, but apparently.
Now, the planners
apparently
backed
they
into
didn't
this. This
do-
is 100% planners backing into this. No planner did this on their own.
Okay,
Okay, so from what I'm hearing, we're gonna revisit
Yeah, I
the,
think we have to discuss it and find out where it's gonna fit. I don't even know how it's gonna fit with different setbacks, so let's take a look at it, look at a map, and get somebody to tell us how it could fit and where. I mean, if there's no setback more than 30 feet in a certain location, well, obviously, nothing can go there. You know, we just.
look, if
I'm-
she's
I'm-
unhappy with the setback from the primary residence, then you pick an amount
from the
of a
property line.
setback from the property line, and then they figure out where to put their business.
Well, we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole until we know. I
But
mean,
you
this
don't
is-
own the square peg or the round hole, Jerry.
You're right, but it's,
So-
I'm voting on it.
Yeah?
Okay. On that note, it sounds like there's further discussion. I'm sure we're gonna hear from the members of the public, so we will continue. Okay, so we're going to make a motion to open the public comment?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so as far as people signed up, the first person I have is Lauren Taylor.
You
Oh,
go
there.
here, and just your town and your name.
My name is Lauren Taylor, and I'm from Blauvelt. Supervisor Kenny and fellow members of the board, like I said, my name is Lauren Taylor, and I am a resident of 15 Shorn Drive in Blauvelt. I'm here today to request assistance and guidance in putting a stop to the madness and unsafe conditions that are happening at one of our neighboring houses, 4 Hobbs Drive in Blauvelt. I know you are fully aware of the situation that is happening. The woman is renting her house out to random people by the hour. Although she has taken the posting off of Swimply.com, I know she is still continuing to rent the house out and is probably fulfilling her original obligations. What is most upsetting throughout this entire ordeal is that our neighborhood is greatly being affected. I'm not sure you're aware of how great an area the Shorn and Hobbs Drives are. We are a friendly and loving neighborhood. Our children grow up together. You know the old school blocks where the kids were outside playing until nightfall and not inside on their devices? That is our neighborhood. Our children are constantly outside playing with each other. Kickball, baseball, spike ball. We have high schoolers and middle schoolers who still come outside and play with their elementary school and younger neighbors. Our neighbors have become like family. We look out for each other. If one of our car doors is open, we will text the other person, "Hey, don't know if you know your car door is open," to which the usual response is, "Thanks, that was my kid who left it open." Or if our garage door is open and no cars are home, we will text each other and ask if the door needs to be closed. I'm greatly distraught at the fact that this woman thought that she could buy a house in our neighborhood and disrupt this family-friendly neighborhood. My house is the corner of Hobbs and Shorn. My kids are constantly outside playing at that corner. Fear ran through my body when I saw 2 cars zipping down Hobbs and zip around to do a U-turn onto Shorn Drive and back onto Hobbs. These cars were speeding around the corner for the sheer fact of trying to find a parking spot for this enormous party with over 100 people. One of my children could have easily been hit with from this recklessness. When there are parties going on, I can't even take a walk around the block or have my children ride their bikes. I do not know what cast of characters are showing up at this house. For all we know, there could be pedophiles showing up. That is extremely unnerving, having 3 young boys under the age of 8. My neighbors can't even walk around the block without being harassed by the partygoers. One incident, my neighbor was riding her bike around the block with her 7-year-old daughter, and a partygoer said, "You should call the cops. This party is really crazy." People were smoking pot and twerking on the driveway. I'm sorry, but does my 8, 6, and 3-year-old need to see that when we are simply walking around the block? I sincerely urge you to take swift action to end this situation that is occurring. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Tony Seelodge? Thank you. Totally messed it up. Tony, you here? Did I say it wrong?
He's here.
Seelodge? Okay. Bob Krahulik.
Good evening. My name is Bob Krahulik. I'm an attorney that's been retained by some of the residents that live on Hobbs Drive in the surrounding area. And I've been asked to just point out some observations about the town zoning code for your consideration. First, violation of zoning. This would appear as if these are one-off events, but technically they've been advertising the use of the property for a use in violation of the zoning code. Each and every day that they advertise, I would submit, is a violation of the town code. The penalties amount to $5,000 per week for each and every week that they are not in compliance. I would submit this is not a single-day violation, but if they're advertising an event for a full month, that's 4 weeks of violation times $5,000 a week, potential $20,000 fine. I think that would get the property owner's attention. Second, the noise ordinance. I don't know whether the police cars are outfitted with noise measuring devices. I've seen this experience in my own hometown where the building department has the equipment, but not police cars. So if there's a call at midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, the police don't have the ability to monitor noise levels, and there's no credible way of prosecuting a
Ours do.
case for a
Ours
noise
have 'em.
violation.
Ours
And
have
it's
'em.
11
Okay.
o'clock, so.
Large groups. I believe your code only requires a special permit of groups of 1,000 people or more, and really only in the event of a music festival, a concert or something like that. Perhaps that section of the code should be looked at to require a permit for smaller groups and groups that are not necessarily hosting a rock concert or a festival of some sort. If people are required to get a permit, you know who to contact if there's a problem, you know who to prosecute if there's a problem. And then finally, I'm not sure whether the town has a short-term rental law. I looked in the code. If there is one, it's not very obvious. Is there a short-term rental registration requirement in town?
No.
Okay. So that would be the final thing for consideration, short-term rental regulations that would require people to get a permit. So again, you know who to contact if there's a problem in the middle of the night with a short-term rental. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan McWinney?
Thank you, and I want to thank the board for their previous comments. I thought that they were quite thoughtful and astute. I do want to note that while this would certainly help Jerry and I, moving cidery operations to another part of the property simply pushes them to the other neighbors' front doors, which is a problem. I'd like to ask the board and town members, would you like a party like Hobbs, right? Would you like a party of 100 or more people serving alcohol with live music 4 days a week next door to your house year-round? I'd like to ask that that just be considered. LaBerge Group has submitted to a second memo and a revised version of RCW's proposed zoning law change. The intention of this proposed law is to legalize via special permit the operation of farm wineries and farm cideries in Orangetown. As these are two distinct licenses and they carry far more privileges than standard liquor licenses, it stands to reason that there should be a discussion of this law before drafting and passing such a law as it can be, so it could be undertaken with a clear understanding of all of the privileges that these licenses carry with them. First and foremost, these are manufacturing licenses. Both licenses grant full on and off premises privileges, allowing for wineries and cideries to serve and sell any spirits, beer, wine, cider, and mead that is produced in New York State. A license holder is not limited to serving cider, nor can a town make that a provision of operation. Both farm wineries and farm cideries can additionally apply for full on and off premises licenses, expanding that liquor and spirits they offer to those produced anywhere in the world. Make no mistake, this is a full bar, and New York State spirits and cider impact the drinker just the same as those produced anywhere else in the world. The definition noted in the text of the proposed law as to what a farm winery and a cidery are is incomplete and misleading. The actual definition can be found online, and I encourage you all to look at it. In closing, I would like to ask that Councilman Paul Valentine and Thomas Stiffney respectfully recuse themselves from these issues. Paul Valentine, I believe, has business dealings with Rockland Cider Works, and Thomas Stiffney has made comments noting preferences pre-hearing any of the facts of this issue, and I think it would bode well for the board to preserve its ethical standing if these two gentlemen recuse themselves. Thank you very much.
Joyce Taub.
Thank you, Joyce Taub, West Nyack. The LaBerge revisions reflect numerous changes to the original documents supporting RCW while creating an even more onerous situation for the neighborhood. The LaBerge submission amounts to a get home free card for RCW. The misconduct of RCW's operators continues, and I fear that if RCW is permitted to operate in this location, there will be a long-term resource drain from ongoing litigation, frequent calls to the police, and complaints to the town. The owners have become emboldened ever since they began skirting the law without consequences, and this will likely continue after having seasons of success operating in defiance of the town zoning laws and stop operation orders. Whether or not I am able to sway the board members' opinions in favor of the neighbors' objections is still unknown. I have spoken of the disruption to our private lives with the creation of RCW, the trespassing of irresponsible people inebriated from the alcoholic beverages, and the danger to anyone driving in the location of the cider venue when it's in use. This dangerous stretch of roadway with a blind curve nearby straightens out just as both flawed parking areas enter and exit that property. A cyclist was taken by ambulance to a trauma unit recently after a driver attempted a U-turn exiting the front lot. At the last meeting, it appeared that this board would shut down the illegal operation of a pay-to-enter nightclub in a Blauvelt home serving alcohol and playing disturbingly loud music. RCW's business is also a major disruption to its neighbors, and we turn to this board for an objective rejection of their continuance. At a discussion here about the migrant placement in Orangetown, I did not hear "let's change the laws" or "let's compromise to make this work." What I heard was our supervisor passionately say, I quote, "We have zoning laws. We have zoning laws." End quote. We as RCW neighbors have been saying exactly that for years. Why have we spent so many resources to allow one rogue commercial business to operate in a residentially zoned neighborhood against our zoning laws? RCW in its current location and its neighbors simply cannot coexist. We have zoning laws. We have zoning laws. If this resolution has come to a vote, I respectfully request that Councilman Valentine and Divany recuse themselves from this vote. Thank you very much.
Sharon Van Houten.
Good evening. Since hearing your, Sharon Van Houten. So since hearing your comments and everything, I feel like I am all over the place because I had so many things to talk to you about and wanting to open up to and get out there with everything that we've been coming to you for the last few years. Now, we have been coming to you with facts. Facts on what's been going on. Facts on what's, day by day, what's happening over at the cidery, our complaints, everything that has to do with the zoning and what they're up against and what they're doing wrong and everything. I'm completely going off my line here, but one of the things you mentioned regarding the Masonic Temple, first of all, they have a much larger buffer than Van Houten Farms will ever have with their neighbors. There's a huge buffer between all those homes and that fairground. Van Houten Farms will never have that size of a buffer. So that's number one. Number two, there is a few businesses that were told no, they couldn't have outside music. And if this is even contemplated or passed for whatever reason, those businesses are going to come storming through and they're going to demand that they're allowed to do it as well. One of them being in Blauvelt, right on Erie Street, and I won't name the name. But I need to reiterate and emphasize here the fact that my husband Chris and I own and still live at 551 Blauvelt Road, that is located on the property that RCW and Jim Van Houten claim to own. We built our home on this property in 1991 and have lived here since, raising our family, even adding an addition in 2007. We are close to paying off our second of 2 mortgages. We were a huge part of Jim Van Houten's life for over 55 plus years. We are now in pending litigation since 2018, and this does not seem to be near its end anytime soon. Until all the parties in this pending litigation are satisfied, there can be no action on this property at this time. I don't understand how anyone is trying to push this through or is even talking about this at this point. This should be a front and center argument, number one. Why is everyone disregarding this important fact? We do not want our property rezoned or a cidery operation on this property, and until a settlement or final court action is finalized, this needs to be delayed. Thank you.
Chris Van Houten.
Good evening to everybody on the town board and all the wonderful taxpayers here. My name is Chris Van Houten. I came here when I was 5 years old. Worked the family business since I was 10 years old. I did a very good job of it. I enjoyed what I did. It was a thriving garden center. We did farmers markets down in New York City and Manhattan. My wife, when we met, she joined me. We worked very hard, extremely hard. You know, when I was young, I graduated Provo High School in 1981. A 70-hour week was just a great thing to do. You know, it was fun. And here I am today, just dealing with all this ruckus that has disturbed the neighborhood that I grew up in. It's the hamlet of North Shore. The greatest thing was going to the country store, Joe's. Now, it used to be Joe's Deli. It was George's. When I worked the family business, I was paid $1 an hour. I went up to there, you know, went up and bought my candy. We got our fireworks once in a while, but that was, but it was just a great place to live. Wonderful, wonderful hamlet. What's disturbing to me, and I think everybody else here, is serving the alcohol. What I've experienced and what I've seen is really a disgrace. Orangetown is just a fantastic town to live in. And what my wife and I, my kids, have experienced, the neighbors. I've been a Provo fireman, first responder for 32 years with the Excelsior Fire Engine Company. You know, guys down there can't fathom that what we've seen. No sidewalks. Just, you know, Sickletown Road is a county road. My road, Blowout Road, is a town road. At times, you could not even walk. I mean, it was really a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, to see this. Jerry and Susan have, you know, the destruction that they've taken, their lawnmower being stolen, and it goes on and on. People, you know, throwing their garbage. Just to see this happening in a wonderful town that we have here. And it all comes down to zoning. And, you know, apparently you people enforce the zoning, but the laws are not being put into place. And that is wrong for all the taxpayers to live in this wonderful town. So I just hope the board makes a decision to go the right way and keep this beautiful hamlet of North Shore the way it used to be. Thank you so much for your time.
Kevin McCormick.
Good evening, Town Board members. Kevin McCormack, 83 Sickletown Road in Orangeburg. I've spoken several times, as you know, regarding the issues with Rockland Cider Works, how they're operating a business that is not appropriate for a residential neighborhood. There's not enough parking. We're putting a bar and an entertainment venue and a manufacturing facility in a residential neighborhood where there was none before. This isn't about setbacks. I'm trying to understand how the town is even considering a zoning change to reward a business that has broken town laws, violated building codes, publicly disparaged the town board and town officials, and show nothing but disdain for their neighbors. The study from LaBerge Group cannot be considered complete when they did not even reach out to the neighbors and ask them about their opinions. They have not questioned the proposal from RCW that will continue to allow RCW to use greenhouses for overflow seating, event spaces, tasting rooms, liquor sales, and still no plan for parking. There are many other issues with the study. Those are just a few. A great example of a local farm and garden center that reinvented itself the right way is Stokes Farm in Old Tappan. They came up with a diversification plan. They designed a building. They got permits. What a concept. They went through the town process. They built a building that is safe and designed for its use, has ample parking, and now houses all different kinds of products that fit with the neighborhood and the community that they live in. A business that's as busy as ever, if not busier. I see banners posted from Van Houten saying, "Imagine if the farm were not here." I say, imagine if the owners of RCW had the courtesy and respect to reach out to their neighbors and discuss the serious issues we have with their business and activities. Imagine if the owners of RCW realized that their grand plans negatively impact our neighborhood, and selling alcohol, having live music, and building a manufacturing facility in our neighborhood makes no sense, it's unsafe, and ultimately reduces our property values. Imagine if the owners of RCW and Van Houtens realized that zoning laws and building regulations are there for a reason, to keep people safe and to ensure that buildings and businesses are designed and built safely to standards and appropriate uses. Changing this law is about consequences. RCW broke laws and disregarded building codes and zoning laws and ultimately faced negative consequences, but doesn't want to accept them. Now they're trying to go around the town code and zoning laws. Should the town board consider adopting this zoning change, they will be open to consequences as well. Will other businesses in town be grandfathered when they have a business in a residential area and they want to change the use? Are you going to reward them if they break zoning laws and zoning codes? Thank you all very much for listening. Thank you to the town officials and the police department and Jane Slavin for listening to us and actually trying to make a difference in our neighborhood. We do appreciate it, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you.
Sheehan Haley?
Hello, my name is Sheehan Haley, and I'm a South Nyack resident. I do not support the proposed zoning changes to Van Houten Farm to enable operation of the Rockland Cider Works. And I ask, has the town asked LaBerge to produce a study relating to the benefits, both financial and social, of locating a farm winery within Orangetown, and more significantly, more specifically, within a residentially zoned neighborhood? While the state of New York has introduced legislation and programs designed to foster New York State agriculture, these activities are not designed nor intended to be used in heavily suburban areas, and there's no indication that these are compatible. The potential impacts of the proposed zoning change on this residential neighborhood remain to be sufficiently constrained and include traffic, public safety, and that's public safety related to traffic and use of controlled substances, lack of sidewalks, noise and light disturbances, property values, road maintenance, sewer maintenance, and tax income. Is it worth undermining prior strategic planning decisions to accommodate this landowner's request at the potential expense of the entire community? At minimum, a study assessing the financial gains versus losses to the town of Orangetown should be commissioned. A determination gained via quantifiable means should demonstrate whether adding a farm cidery or farm winery benefits Orangetown financially and how it impacts the residential neighborhood it occupies. I thank you all for your time, and thank you to the board members and to any other public servants in attendance tonight for your service.
Okay, so that's the last person that signed up for the public comment. So is there anybody else who wants to speak that hasn't had a chance? No, that's okay.
My name is Rick Tannenbaum, and I'm the Executive Director over at Hightor Animal Care Center. Last Wednesday, I received an email about a situation in Pearl River, which I think you're familiar with, about a hoarding situation of cats with a woman who had taken ill and basically had left the cats in the house unattended for a period of time. The cats are, as I understand it, I have photos that would shock you, but are seriously ill, likely have ringworm, respiratory issues, covered with fleas. The house has not been cleaned. I understand the house has been condemned. And Orangetown doesn't have any provision in its contract with the Humane Society to address cats. And the Hudson Valley Humane Society was reluctant to get involved in this situation until they were convinced that it was an abuse or neglect situation, because that triggers their peace officer obligations to do something. The cats are still in the house. Nothing has been done. Volunteers are going in during the day and feeding the house and feeding the cats and doing the best they can to clean it. But what's happening is it's like a gaping hole in a mechanism to address these sort of situations, because hoarding is not necessarily illegal unless it crosses over into abuse or neglect, but it shouldn't be incumbent upon individual citizens to fulfill this obligation, which I view as a municipal or a government obligation, when something goes this far afoul. So I understand that you have a contract with the Humane Society for dogs and that you don't have anything set up for this sort of situation for cats, but I really encourage you to review what's happening over on Carroll Street. Go out and have a look. I think maybe you have been out, I'm not sure. And to, to just step up and do something where these situations are in this kind of gray area. At Hightor, we've offered to accept some of the cats, but we don't have a contract with Orangetown. There's no way for us to, to participate in that. But these cats need attention, and this missing link to taking care of these animals needs to be addressed by your town board. It's not fair to the cats or the population to not have a provision for these cats that are suffering in this manner. So that's what I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anybody else who has not signed up? I'm sorry.
Good evening, Town Board members. My name is Faith Kuster. We live at 54 Sickletown Road, 2 doors away from RCW, on the bend of the road. We have lived in Pearl River for 32 years and in this house for 25. I have been a patron of Van Houten Farms for 32 years, using them personally and for PTA fundraising. We have multiple concerns over the proposed zoning for RCW. My first concern is for the children and horses at Silver Rock Farms. There is a handicap program that is run at the farm that is an asset to our community. Allowing the noise from the number of people and entertainment will put this program in jeopardy, not to mention the safety of the children. Adding a bar and entertainment business to this site drive out the children's program. It is a substitute of one business for another. The second concern is for the parking for 350 people and where the overflow will go. At a recent special event, the street parking on Blauville Road was substantial, leading to an accident and police calls. Finally, several years ago, in 2014, a car going southbound on Sickletown Road failed to make the bend. The car went off the road, rolled down the embankment into the Norrishawn stream right in front of our house, right in our stream. Luckily, this young man was not hurt. He had no major injuries. But if you are allowing more traffic and you are adding alcohol into the equation, this will make for a more dangerous stretch of road with possibly more accidents. We ask the board to take this into consideration, the safety of all the children at Silver Rock Farms and the safety of the motorists and pedestrians on Sickletown Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who has not spoken that would like to speak? Gentleman right here.
Good evening, Board. My name is Paul Kuster. I am from 54 Sickletown Road. And your earlier conversation is what provoked me to stand up and speak a bit. The talk of a compromise is probably a logical way of approaching a complicated problem. But I want to point out one of the big issues related to the zoning permit that was the draft zoning permit. It indicated that there could be 150 people on site for the R40 part of the property and 225 people on the R80 part. That comes to 375. And it doesn't count the clients that are at the farm stand. So we have a situation where there could be as many as 400 plus people
Can I just,
on that
Allison, you want to stop the
location.
clock for a minute, just so we're on the same page? I think there's misunderstanding.
That's a
I
misunderstanding.
just, hold on, because I think somebody else said that number. I just want to have clarification on this.
No, because it would apply to R80 and R40.
So it
If
applies to
there's
two
one in
different zones,
R80,
but-
it would be 225. If there's one in R40, it would be 150.
Right, so this is
Not
R40.
together.
So they're not added together?
No.
No.
All right.
Okay,
I appreciate your attention. Thank you.
okay. Is there anybody else who has not had a chance to speak that would like to speak?
Yes, this guy.
Speak, I guess. Oh, I didn't even see it. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brian White. I live at 6 Hobbs, next door neighbor to 4 Hobbs. I used to live in Washington Heights. I came here about 3-4 years ago to move to this house. The best schools, the best neighborhood, everything. I am a retired NYPD officer of 20 plus years. The things that I've seen next door is very suspicious to me. I have enough training to know in the NYPD at that time of just investigations, why, and everything else. Things that I've seen. I'm retired, I don't have another job, so I'm sitting home all day and all night, and I see things next door. Thank you for your time. Also, everybody that lives in Shorn and in Blauvelt are all back there in the back. You all could raise your hands. That's how much we care about this neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else that hasn't, oh, somebody's coming.
It's Tom Reynolds, 65 Sickletown Road. Good evening, board members. I just want to say, first of all, my personal opinion is they're not going to close up. I think this is just a means of them trying to get what they want. There's other options to increase their business. Other possible landscaping. They sell shrubberies, they sell all that material. Why can't they install it? And herb growing in the greenhouses. Last Thursday night, I'm in the Hunts Point Market on one of the platforms. I see a white van from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Big guy with his teenage son unloading a bunch of herbs. He traveled how far from Lancaster, Pennsylvania to bring his product into the market? And that product was probably grown in greenhouses. I don't see anybody here who wants to break their back. And it's easy to serve a glass of cider or a beer. Anybody could do that. And right away, you're taking them at their word. I don't believe it. And why should the neighbors suffer and we be affected? How would you like it if they did this in your neighborhood? And that's all I have to say.
It is my neighborhood.
Okay, anybody else who has not had a chance to speak that would like to speak in the public comment portion? Nope.
Going once.
Oh, almost.
Jerry Goggins, 66 Sickletown Road. First thing, if any of you think 70 decibels is something to take lightly, I will be very happy to come over to your house when you're there, arrange it with you, and play you 70 decibels with a sound meter and let you know how disturbing it is. And that's 10 feet from our property line. Now, the original LaBerge proposal provided for 150-foot setback, and that was changed to 200 feet from the nearest principal dwelling or whatever it was. So I just want to make that point. Second point, the cyclist that was injured a couple of weeks ago was hit by a car doing a U-turn out of the Van Houten parking lot. And this is when the cidery isn't operating. Is it going to become safer when there are hundreds of people there? Third thing, I want to tell you about what happened in court, and I see the Van Houtens have their attorney here so he can verify this for you. The Van Houtens requested, when we got a preliminary injunction, that we pay or put up a bond of $3.3 approximately $1 million to compensate them for losses if it was found that there wasn't grounds for our preliminary injunction. Now, there was a court hearing about this, and the Van Houtens had the opportunity to present any evidence they wanted to bolster their claim. Did they produce audited financial statements? No. Did they produce certified tax returns? No. Did they produce bank statements to demonstrate their imminent impoverishment? No. The only thing that RCW produced was a spreadsheet with a set of completely unsupported numbers. The judge subsequently set the bond at $100, not $3.3 million, $100. Bear in mind that this occurred in court, a place where evidence is paramount, a place where evidence of real damages would presumably have been taken very seriously. Now think about how RCW approached this opportunity without a shred of substantive evidence. The principals of RCW have attempted to bully me, have attempted to bully my wife, and have made statements on social media that appear to be what can only be described with the greatest charity as deceptive. RCW currently has signs saying Van Houten Farms cannot survive without the cidery. And yet when presented with the opportunity to demonstrate the truth of this sort of statement in court, beyond all doubt, RCW failed to produce any evidence whatsoever. Now, I want you to ask yourselves this question. What independent evidence do you have of the veracity of RCW's claims that the farm cannot survive without them? You've heard people talking about opposite cases. What do you know? What have you seen? How have you independently verified this? And isn't it your obligation to do that? Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Daniel Fix. I'm with the law firm of Blakely, Platt & Schmidt. We represent Van Houten Farm Family Trust and Rockland Cider Works. I was not planning on speaking tonight. This was a discussion forum, and unfortunately, parties to a litigation have come up here and openly discussed pending matters that are subject of litigation and subject of a court decision. I will not comment on that. It's entirely inappropriate, and it stretches the bounds of ethics. And the one thing that I would say is this, and because the door is opened, is that if you're going to come up here and demand that the law be enforced against one party, then you should follow the law yourself. And I'm talking about the trespassing and harassment that has been going on against the Van Houtens and the Van Houten Farm. We have evidence that certain neighbors have entered onto non-public areas of the property, have set up a perimeter of surveillance, and they know that they're not allowed to do that, and they know that it's inappropriate, they know that it's illegal. So, if we're going to take with a grain of salt what's being said, let's look at the credibility of the people who are coming up here talking against this, this business. Businesses either evolve or they die, and that's what's going on. A compromise is what should happen. This has been going on for years now. And mention of whether or not this use is illegal or not, by the way, that issue has not been borne out through the courts yet. There's appeals that are in place, and the fact of the matter is this: the code does not define commercial agricultural operation.
Mr. Fix, with all due respect, we're not going to litigate it here.
We're not, well,
Okay.
He's not, he's given it a chance.
Supervisor.
Let that guy make it.
No, I'm just saying, he's
Specific-
arguing about the
specific-
legality
specific-
of it, so
Okay.
I don't,
Supervisor Kenny, I'm responding to comments that were made earlier that the use is illegal that were made during the discussion.
but with all due
purpose.
respect, our code enforcement, that's the position of the town. You disagree. I completely
and-
respect that,
and by the
but
way-
that's what courts are for.
Exactly. That's what courts are for, and that issue is going to be decided by the court ultimately. But to come up here and start openly talking about what would happen in court and certain aspects of the litigation is entirely inappropriate.
No, please.
Entirely inappropriate.
Let him finish, please.
Entirely inappropriate. Thank you.
Okay, just warming up here. Anybody else want to speak that has not had a chance to speak? Oh, I thought we were good, okay. Come on up.
I'm Jim Cleary. I live at 20 Van Terrace. I'm a retired attorney, but I'm still fully admitted in New York. I've litigated for 38 years, mostly for the defense. I have posted bonds, and I've had bonds posted against me for corporate clients. I have never heard of a judge lowering a bond from $3.5 million to $100. Did I hear that correctly? 100? Correct. That is unbelievable in 38 years of litigation, both sides, generally defense. Now, whatever that attorney before me said might be true, might not be true, but this is a unique situation.
Mr. Cleary, can you address that to the board, please?
Sure.
Just, yeah,
This is a unique situation. 38 years, I've never heard of an initial bond being lowered, one, and two, being lowered to only $100. I mean, that's, no offense, ridiculous. That's like the British lawsuits where the damages are a penny, a British penny. That's all I have to say. But I think some judge somewhere has already decided what's going on with the evidence or proof Van Houten has to produce. And from what I've heard, they haven't produced it. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak that has not had a chance to speak? Okay, come on, guys. Oh, we almost made it. We almost made it.
It's Darren Van Houten from Van Houten Farms. To try to keep things on the positive side, we're happy with the positive progress that's happened with the amendments and the petition. And I just want to, remind everyone, the farm was here first, before, any of the houses and the people who live in the area. The farm was there. All the development has encroached on the farm, and this happens all over the state and all over the country, and farms go away because of that. We're trying as hard as we can to preserve the farm and keep the farm. And, I'm sorry, but selling a few herbs doesn't cut it. And even, selling tomatoes and peaches, actually selling any produce doesn't cut it. It hasn't cut it in generations. All farms have to evolve. All farms have to diversify and find new sources of revenue. We're 100% happy to compromise and talk about this and come up with something that works with everyone. We do feel this addresses all the issues, all the legitimate issues. So, we look forward to continuing to work together and come up with a positive solution. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? I think we've got everybody in the whole audience. I don't know who's left. Anybody else that would like to speak that hasn't had a chance to speak? No, only once. You only get once. Okay. Can I get a motion closed?
I make a motion to close.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Anybody want to comment before we go on to the rest of the agenda? No?
Well, I'll comment quickly.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry. A few quick things. As far as Van Houten's, I still think that there should be a compromise, and I think we can find something that'll keep everybody happy. I did notice that a few of the people who were speaking, most of them do live very close to the farm, and I appreciate that. There are a few people who live farther away from the farm than I do, and yes, I do live in a neighborhood, and I can walk to the farm, and I can hear the farm, and I can hear the music, not like the people on the property or the people across the street, but I do live closer than several of the speakers who spoke against the farm. And I'm going to work towards a compromise if one can be had. I'm not sure one can be had, but I am going to work diligently towards a compromise. And I have no intentions at all, zero intentions of recusing myself. I did one small service call. In fact, I do service calls for almost everybody in this room. I wouldn't be able to do anything on this board. I own a local business, and I'm not recusing myself because there is no conflict of interest. So you can keep coming up here and saying and asking for it, it ain't happening. Have a good night.
Anybody? No, you're good? Okay, so we're going to move on to the next public hearing we have. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing regarding the zoning text amendment for a special permit mixed-use development?
Motion.
Brian, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, here we go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Geraldine Tortorella of Hockerman, Tortorella, and Wexstein in White Plains. We are counsel for the applicants this evening. I just want to tell you who's in the audience with us. I wanted to give you a brief presentation because it's a public hearing, but I do have people here if you have specific questions that you want to ask. We have Alfred Rossi, who's with the FB Orangetown entities that are the applicants and owners of the Orangeburg Shopping Center. Shirag Dakar, a professional engineer with Bat Dakar Engineering, he's in the audience, and also Ronald Riemann, who's with Colliers Engineering, and they have been our traffic engineers since the inception of this project way back in the early 2000s. So they are in the audience if there are any specific questions that you want to ask. But I did just want to give a general overview for the public's benefit, and then we can answer any questions that the board members might have. The shopping center is owned by a group of limited liability companies who we represent. The property is at the corner of Stevens Way and, I can indicate here, and Route 303, and I know everybody's familiar with the site. This mixed-use development was first approved in 2006, and it has evolved over time. But in that original approval, there was always a combination of commercial retail development in this general location. As the project has evolved over time to what it is today, the uses have changed somewhat, and as you know, we have the Residence Inn that was constructed on the property and Stop and Shop. They're there, they're doing well, they're succeeding. It's been over 10 years since those two uses and businesses were constructed, and we have never been able to attract tenants to these commercial pads. We had a combination of retail, personal service, and bank with a drive-through on these two pads and have never, ever been able to get anybody to come until now. And we have a very serious commitment from Chipotle, which would like to establish and operate one of its what we call fast casual restaurants in one of the pads. It's actually on the southern pad, in the northern section of the southern pad is where the Chipotle would be located. Unfortunately, your code defines fast food as very, very broadly, and this type of a restaurant, which is not a traditional fast food restaurant, falls into that category of fast food, which is what brings us to the board this evening. We're asking for a simple amendment to the code to permit all types of restaurants in the mixed-use special permit area. And that would include traditional restaurants as well as fast food restaurants as are defined under your code. We also are here asking for an amendment to our special permit approval that the board has previously granted because you have control over the mix of uses on the site. And that's why we are before the board as well. We've submitted, among other things, the petition that identifies the specific simple change that we'd like made to the text, the concept plan that's on the screen, and a full environmental assessment form, one component of which is a trip generation analysis that was done by Colliers Engineering. You know, traffic has always been a matter of interest to this board and to the planning board, so we come to you having studied that issue. The original traffic impact study that was done back in 2006 was done by a predecessor to Colliers. Through the years, we have continued to update that study and always look at what the impact of any changes we are doing have on traffic. Back in 2006, when we did the assessment, there had to be a projection of the number of trips that would be generated by the combination of uses that were on the site plan. And what's happened in the salient takeaways from the trip generation analysis that were in the materials that we submitted to you are twofold. One is that the number of actual trips that are generated by the Stop and Shop and the hotel are substantially fewer in actual number than what was projected and analyzed and assessed back in 2006. In fact, for the weekday PM peak hour period, they're 41% lower actual number of trips generated compared to what was projected and what was evaluated. On the Saturday peak hour period, 58.5% less is what we have found. So while the second aspect of our takeaway is that the change to a different combination of uses that would include fast food will result or could result in an increase in number of trips, that increase will not have an adverse impact on surrounding roadways because of such a significant difference and reduction in actual traffic and trip counts as a result of our analysis. So with that, we're here this evening. We would just want to point out that we meet, this project can meet all of the other zoning requirements, setback, height, parking, all of the other area and dimensional requirements. I know that's the province of the planning board, and we will go to the planning board should we get the approvals that we're seeking here. But I think it's important for the board to understand that the site can sustain and support what we're proposing to do. As we're here to answer any questions, but I just wanted to give you that overview before you take action on our request.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just to clarify, Ms. Tortorella mentioned there's two aspects to this. The first is amending the code to permit this as part of the special permit. Subsequently, not tonight, if this were to pass, after it gets filed with the Secretary of State, there'll be a separate resolution about approving that aspect of it to amend the special permit. The applications are the same, identical, secret will have been completed, it's not going to be segmented. So I just wanted to point that out, that the only thing you're voting on tonight is the local law. Subsequently, you'll be asked to amend the special permit.
Did the county have any comments for me?
The county did have comments. I don't have them handy.
Yeah, they're here.
Rosanna has them. I left my file.
I don't remember. I do look at them
Do you want to
usually.
see them?
Yeah, you have them. That's great. In the meantime, let me see. So no one actually signed up for the public, on this particular public hearing, but is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak on this particular item? No.
The one county comment, I'm sorry, before you go,
Go ahead.
Jerry. There are provisions regarding Section 8.13 of the code regarding the location, of fast food restaurants, which really would not be applicable here. It just said, the board should be aware of them, and the board certainly is aware of them. But given the nature of this project and where the proposal is, it's obviously not near, residential. It's not, frankly, it meets all the requirements, but they just asked to be mindful of that.
The proposal now, what you're looking for is half of that pad, is that correct?
No, the proposal is to change the zoning code so that fast food is a permitted use on the site. And then the pads are actually slightly smaller than what's been previously approved. We have site plan approval for these two pads, and we're just reducing some of the square footage. But we are showing you a concept plan that would have fast food with drive-through, plus it could be another traditional restaurant in the other half of the building, or a personal service, or a retail use. It will depend on what we can attract there. And then on the northern pad, we want the ability to have any of the permitted uses to be in this location as well. But right now, what brings us to you is that we do have a commitment from a particular business, Chipotle, to actually locate in this location right here.
Okay, thank you.
So if you go look in Nanuet where the hamburger place is.
Shake Shack.
And then right behind it, it's the
Right.
same type of building
That's
as
what I
that.
was asking.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
I neglected to mention, you did circulate a notice of intent to be lead agency back in, well over 30 days ago. I know that you have gotten some responses. No one has objected to that. So, I would hope that you'd be able to take a secret action tonight before you would take any other
that's fine.
official action.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see what we got.
Yeah, I've read the
Okay.
petition, I'm good.
Okay. So, no one wants, I guess we can close? No one from the public wants to speak? Have you got any questions? No?
I make a motion, we close the public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 5, to declare lead agency for the zoning text amendment. That's what we were just talking about. So the town board is...
I make a motion, we declare lead agency.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Brian, it was very, without you here last week or last meeting, it was very tough. Jerry was overwhelmed.
I appreciate that. I leaned over you.
Number 6, a negative declaration on the zoning text amendment for the special permit. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Jerry, need a motion?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
6, 7. Okay. And number 7, can I get a motion to adopt the local law for the zoning text amendment for the special permit for the mixed-use developments? Jerry Batari, move.
I'll second.
Brian Donahue, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So,
Thank you.
now, will the hearing be continued, or was the motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close.
Got it, okay. So we will hopefully be able to come back to the board in July and be able to take action on the special permit. But if you have any questions in the interim, please don't hesitate to let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice holiday, too.
You too.
You too.
Thanks.
Okay. We are moving on to number 8. So we're going to resume the public hearing. Can I get a motion to resume the public hearing on the comp plan?
Motion.
Brian Donahue, second.
Second.
Jerry Vitale, in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so again, we're going to be holding it over just because Mr. Divany's not here, but we will open it up for comments. Nobody has signed up, but is there anyone here? Okay, I see a couple hands going. Okay, you want to go first? Okay, come on.
Let's see if this is working. Is this working?
Yep.
Yeah. Marion Gavioli, 14 Warren Officer, Bauer Lane, Orangeburg, New York. I've been at these meetings and following them. First, I want to thank the board for posting those proposed revisions. I think it was 23 pages. I appreciate that. So I did go through it so that the entire document is 303 pages, as you know. So that helped me tremendously. However, then when I looked at the recent update, I saw that those revisions were not part of they weren't modified in the new document. So I'm gathering that they're going to be discussed tonight, or they will be discussed at another time, because Mr. Divany was one of the authors of that.
Correct.
So that's why I came tonight, so I could hear about the modifications that I read and to see if they were going to be implemented. So I would request the board continue it so that I could hear the discussions and I could have input on that. Okay, thank you.
And I
Thank you.
do apologize, we did not find out Mr. Divany not coming until really a little while ago,
understand.
so we would have tried to get word out, but absolutely. Okay.
Thank you. So we would be allowed to speak again?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah, at the next hearing.
Okay, Wayne, you want to speak?
No, I think.
You're good?
I did it better than me.
Okay.
Somebody else is coming.
Yep.
Hello, my name's Andrew Goodwillie. I'm a geoscientist at Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory. I live in South Nyack, and I'm pleased that the comprehensive plan process is moving ahead. And I just wanted to bring to your attention some of the edits that were made. And I look at the comprehensive plan and expect that it will probably stay in force for probably 20 years, like the last one has. These things don't get changed.
If we're done by then.
If we're done by then. And I just want to call to your attention that from what I can tell from the red line copy, one member of the town board had issues with a couple of sections. And I just want to implore this board to adhere to scientific fact. And this relates to the section on fossil fuels where they've been redlined out. And I would hope that, and I'm referring to items on page 20, page 222, and page 237. I would hope that, because it's just one council person who objected to these, that the majority of the council would vote to keep them in. I think that would do a good service for us as we look to the future, as we aim for more sustainability. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak on the comprehensive plan? Seeing no one, we are going to continue it now. Paul's going to be
I'm out
away.
next meeting, but I'll be here the following, and hopefully Tom too. Yes.
So you have all this,
We're going to put it over to the 25th so that,
oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just move it to the
Everybody get back with
25th.
that. Good, okay.
yeah, so
that
we're
way
going to
you don't
make a
have to open
motion
it
to
and close it.
continue it to,
7:25.
thank you. I was all confused there. I'm like, thinking August. I'm like, wait a minute.
A motion for 7:25.
July 25th.
That's 7:05.
I'll make that motion.
So
Okay.
Tuesday, July 25th at 7:05.
It's been a long night.
We only meet on Tuesday.
Okay, so Brian Donahue moved to continue it to July 25th at 7:05, and Jerry Batari second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, number 10, accept the petition for the request for zone change and direct circulation of the proposed law. This is regarding the Prel Plaza that Mr. Brenner spoke about earlier.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Set the public hearing.
Number 11, set the public hearing date on the proposed zone change to August 22nd at 7:05. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 12, approve the concession agreement for Veterans Memorial Park to Salinator LLC. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 13, approve streetlight at private,
Delaware.
I can't even say that every time, Delaware Court. Motion?
Yes, motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve agreement with Walden Environmental Engineering for grant writing application to the DEC. Motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 15, approve a 2023 certificate of sewer registration.
Move.
Jerry Bitar, second.
I'll second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, accept a performance bond, the reserve at Pearl River Blue Hill Plaza. This, the amount of $1,330,000. Motion? Jerry Bitar, move. Second.
I'll second.
Brian Daniel, in favor?
Aye.
17, rescind resolution number 20 of 2023-327, appointing Christopher Fratto. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve Cornell University Local Roads Program, Chris Coyle to attend. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's $50. We have to approve something for $50? Okay.
Should come
Yeah.
out of petty cash.
It should come out of something, okay. Number 19, accept the retirement of Carl Bond from the Highway Department after 36 years.
That's a long time.
Jerry Batari, move. Second.
I'll second.
Brian Donahue, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 20, declare surplus to sell ammunition for the police department. Motion?
It's like 45s.
Motion.
Yeah, sounds scary. Jerry Batari, move. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Accept, number 20, accept the retirement of Sam DeZago from the town clerk's office after 38 years. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Jeff.
The audit for tonight's meeting consists of 2 warrants for $2.8 million. First warrant had 65 vouchers for $545,000 and was for utilities. Second warrant had 184 vouchers for $2.2 million. Items of interest, number 3, Capasso, $90,000 for recycling. Number 11, Hudson Valley Engineering, $41,000 for North Middletown Road Project. Number 13, Morano Brothers, $233,000 for North Middletown Road Project. Number 14, Department of Civil Service, $929,000 for healthcare benefits. Number 16, Tilcon, $127,000 for highway materials. Number 17, Verde Electric, $331,000 for installation of new traffic signals. That's bonded money. Number 18, Vortex, $208,000 for the splash pad. Any questions on the audit?
No? Motion to accept the audit?
I make a motion to accept the audit.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we are going to go into executive session to discuss the sale of land that might affect the value. And personnel. Okay, so we're not voting on anything, so we're not going to come out and vote on anything. We are adjourning in memory of Michael Cassidy, a resident of Pearl River, and Robert or Bobby Wetland, a father of Orangetown Police Sergeant Robert Wetland. So can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.